So let's talk about a new report that just came out that said new home sales proving Wall Street was wrong. Wrong about the housing market crash. And you see, I have made a couple videos about this very topic. And when I saw this came out, and there's some really interesting points that I'm going to go through with you guys in just a minute. But I think that, based on all the data coming out now, in all these mass media outlets or Wall Street, there's a lot of people that were betting on another housing market Armageddon, or believing that we're heading into another 2008 when we saw the Great Recession. And that's just simply not the case. It's simply not happening. And this report from Housing Wire came out yesterday, and I thought it was really, really good. Let me share some of the things that they talked about, and then we'll get into it. So here's how it starts off. Why are home builders stocks up so much? Don't they know that new home sales apocalypse is here? The one that says that we have too much inventory and millions of vacant homes in the US? According to this theory, we have more homes under construction than any time in history. The truth is, it's not 2008 all over again. The lure of housing 2008 story is very, very appealing to a lot of these investors, a lot of these news outlets. However, the people who say low inventory is fake news don't realize that housing credit channels are very different from 2008, which has prevented total active listings from looking anything like 2008. Certain people on Wall Street like to get ahead of the crowd by being early. In their haste, they miss the bigger picture of the housing market. There is a boring, long-term story here about the total active listings being low in America. And the person who wrote this said, I just don't believe it's a story that Wall Street wanted to discuss. It's very sexy to talk about the gloom and doom about the housing market, which is so true. But sometimes that doesn't end well. Here's the case in point. New home sales came in Tuesday. Made a video about this yesterday. This report is so critical. The fact that new homes and the data that we got yesterday came out, because the real story is about supply and demand. Okay, so here's what happened. Here's some information about the new home sales report that is vitally important to the U.S. housing market right now. This is from the Census Bureau. New home sales and new single-family houses in March 2023 were at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 683,000, according to the estimates released by the U.S. Census Bureau and the Department of Housing and Development. This is 9.6% above the revised February rate. When did all this happen? The forward-looking housing data started to improve in November 9th, 2022, when purchase applications was up and almost everybody ignored it. The thing is, builders have time to work off their backlog of homes because they're efficient sellers. They can cut prices. They can lower mortgage rates, which is super important. We're going to talk about that in a second. And they can do what they need to sell their product, which is a commodity to them. They don't have the same issues as existing homeowners do because they're not living in the property. So let's talk about that for a second, and then we'll talk about new home supply, which was something that Wall Street and a lot of these fear mongers were hanging their hat on to say this is going to cause a massive housing market crash. We're going to talk about that in a second. But here's the thing with new construction. This is why I talked about in yesterday's episode that new construction potentially opens up a whole new opportunity for this housing market that nobody saw coming. In that, new builders were going to be offering the incentives that they are for people that can't find what they're looking for, can't afford these high prices with existing home sales, with high mortgage rates. So go to the new home builder, get exactly what you want at a price that you can afford, because home builders are offering lower interest rates than you can get otherwise, which is why I think we're seeing new home sales do what they're doing. And you're seeing a lot of people get into a 5% and even less, we saw, in a mortgage rate that's less than 5% on a brand new home, whereas if they bought an existing home that they don't love, that doesn't have exactly what they want, at an interest rate at 6.5%. So it's a huge draw for people to go new construction. This is why I said what I said in yesterday's episode, which was that the new construction market or new homes maybe is the hero in this housing market in 2023. Think about all the home owners that want to sell. They want to downsize, they want to upsize, but the story that we keep hearing, you and I, as real estate agents, where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? I'm at 3.5% of my mortgage. There's nothing out there. Everything is way overpriced, way inflated. And if I get into something, not only do I have to get in something that I don't love, I got to overpay and I've got to get an interest rate at 6.5% when I'm at 3.5% right now. Well, not if you go new construction. You can get exactly what you want and get a rate that is more reasonable. Now, this is the thing that is even more important, is when we look at new home supply. So for sale inventory in months supply, the seasonal adjusted estimate of new houses for sale at the end of March was 432,000. This represents 7.6 months of supply. However, there's a lot of context to housing data. This is what we have to pay attention to. This is what I continue to talk about in these housing market update videos, because Wall Street and people making content about the housing market love to manipulate the data. And they love to take things out of context to say, well, look at new home sale inventory. It's 7.6 months. Well, let's talk about supply as it relates to what's good for home builders and what's bad. When supply is 6.5 months or above, most of the time builders pull back on construction. And the headline supply is at 7.6 months worth of supply. That's what the media wants you to believe. Listen, it's right there. The data says what it says. Brandon, you just said it too. Anything over 6.5 months, builders pull back on construction. We're at 7.6 months of inventory. Right. Let's break down the 7.6 months of supply so that you have the context. And then you start to look behind the curtain and say, I see. Here's the breakdown of the 7.6 months worth of supply. 267,000 homes are under construction. That's 4.7 months of supply. 94,000 of those homes still need to start construction. They haven't even started. That's 1.7 of the 7.6 months worth of inventory. And oh, get this. 71,000 homes are completed for sale that are actually ready for someone to buy it. Guess how many months of supply that is? Only 1.2 months worth of supply. That's the real saleable inventory with new homes right now is 71,000. Let's give you some context. When we saw the housing bubble or the housing crash, we were close to 200,000 new homes that were completed for sale, that were for sale. We have 71,000 right now. 1.2 months worth of inventory. Here's what's also true. Anything under three months worth of inventory is a highly seller's market. And this is why we see so many people going to new construction. This is why we see the new construction or new home sale sector of the marketplace doing so well. It's not what Wall Street wanted to see. It's not what Wall Street wanted us to believe. It's not what the fearmongers wanted us to believe when they said there's this massive housing market crash coming because of new construction. because there's 7.6 months of inventory. Right. But when you get into it and you start to look at the data, you find, well, geez, there's only about a month worth of inventory. And oh, by the way, builders are doing things for buyers that otherwise these buyers would have no options to do or no ability to do. So it'll be interesting as we continue to get more information on the housing market, because we've yet to have any evidence that supports a massive housing market crash. In that, home prices are going to fall, that they're going to drop dramatically 20, 30, 40%, like we saw in 2008.